Welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield. Well, welcome in, everyone. You are listening to what is the very first episode of the Elevate Springfield podcast. I am Robert Farrell. If you do not know me, hey, I am a certified 10X coach and mentor. I have been in education and training for the past 17 years, and my goal is to bring that experience to you guys and provide some actionable strategies that you can use to elevate your life, your business, and ultimately our community. Over the course of our time here, I'm going to bring in the change makers from our area that are already elevating, and they can bring some insight and strategies as well into what they've used in their personal and professional life. So I feel like if we can elevate ourselves, elevate our businesses, we can ultimately elevate Springfield. I am very passionate about what we have going on here. We have so many phenomenal people and phenomenal companies in our area, and I think we have a really bright future. So today, our very first guest on the Elevate Springfield podcast is Mr. Fred Weber from 217 Mortgage, powered by New American Funding. We're going to talk about how to build a strong network, the importance of community involvement, personal and professional development, and a few other things sprinkled in as well. After we talk with Fred, we'll go over some of our 10X strategies that align with what we're discussing. But let's go ahead and get in and talk with Fred. Fred Weber, 217 Mortgage, right after the break. Hey everybody, Robert here. 217 Mortgage, powered by New American Funding, offers expert advice and comprehensive mortgage lending services to both current and future homeowners. Hey, their dedicated team is honored to serve the Midwest, providing reliable and personalized mortgage solutions from loan origination through to funding. Hey, they pride themselves on their inclusive approach, serving clients from all walks of life. With 4 office locations across central Illinois, Champaign, Springfield, Knoxville, and Bloomington, they are well positioned to serve the needs of their clients. Discover the 217 Mortgage difference. Join us and see how they can make your homeownership dreams a reality. All right, and we are back. I'm joined now by Fred Weber, 217 Mortgage, powered by New American Funding. Fred, good to see you today. How we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I follow you on Facebook and social media and watching this stuff, so I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I appreciate you following me, and I've been seeing a lot of you too, both in person and on social. So good we were able to sit down and talk today. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your backstory.
Yeah, so I'm a mortgage lender with 217 Mortgage. I started in that industry in 2017. That was kind of a rough start for me when I got started, and there's a whole backstory to that too. But it led me to the point prior to that I was in insurance, thought I was going to be a State Farm agent. And what happened with that is at the time I was married, my wife didn't want to move. And when she didn't want to move, we didn't move.
Sure.
Profession. I'm grateful for the industry that chose me to be a part of, because it allowed me an opportunity to buy a home, which I grew up without ever being in a home that was my own. My parents were split family. They always rented, didn't understand what generational wealth was, all the things that kind of create that building blocks for the next generation to build upon. So this industry has really taught me, I don't like the term financial literacy anymore. I like the term financial preparedness. So really taught me the idea behind financial preparedness and getting ready to prepare my children for the same thing.
So you think not having that growing up kind of helps you with your purpose and helping other folks live that dream, right?
So I am a firm believer that stress, hardship is one of the biggest reasons for growth, personal growth, business growth too, right? You either are going to grow or you're going to die. I don't think there's anything in any type of environment that stays just the same.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're either progressing or you're declining. That's it.
I use the trees as an example, right? It's either growing or dying. And if it's dying, like, okay, like we understand there has to be a reason for it. It's either met its time or it's gotten to the point where it can't grow anymore. Like, I had a mentor of mine that told me that our perfect day on this planet will be your last day.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that too. So it's just this environment, this business has really like challenged me at a level that no other business could. I was a huge athlete. I love sports. I loved playing, and competing, picking up golf, tennis after college, like just trying to be the best at everything I could do. And then now I'm in an industry that forces you to be better every day.
So would you play sports in college?
I did briefly.
Yeah.
What you find out, the higher level you get, there's two things that kept me from being a pro athlete. I love telling the story.
Sure, go for it.
Things, right? And everybody's like, oh, like I ask them, like, what do you think those things are? And they're like, oh, is your coach, you got hurt. And I was like, talent and ability. The two things that kept me from being a pro athlete and being A-Rod, was that I just wasn't there. But sports definitely, on top, it teaches you two things. A, that life's never fair. And athletics definitely taught me that at a young age, that life is not fair and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's how you approach that unfairness that really determines on what happens next, right? And then the other thing that athletics taught me is how to be a part of a team and how to set goals and get to the next level. I was able to apply some of that in my personal life too, along with my business life, but really I really wish there was a class out there that would teach us how to be it's adult preparedness.
Sure.
Right. You're in college and like, hey, how do I pay my taxes on time? How do I open up a checking account? I know there's a class out there now for that, for high schoolers a little bit, but you'd be amazed at how many people don't understand what a tax return is, or W-2s, or a pay stub, or what a bank statement is, because everything's online now, right?
Yeah, and that's part of what I'm doing. You've seen some of my Explore for Success stuff, my career exploration group. I try to wrap in those life skills, those adulting skills as part of that as well.
I like that you use the term skill too, right? So the term skill is very important because it means it's something that you can learn. And I think with an adult preparedness class is that once you max out your talent or your ability, from there on out, it's all about skills that you can just learn and maximize. And we have not done a very good job. I think TikTok has kind of switched that a little bit. TikTok, social media revolution, Facebook Reels have really kind of challenged this new generation coming up on how to be better human beings. I really believe that. And I also believe that the greatest generation is yet to exist. So when we look at it from that perspective, like how are they challenging themselves? And I mean, TikTok is the greatest available use of information that I think I've ever seen. And I was part of the .com, part of the internet boom, part of the things that said, like the quote that I heard recently is like in the 30s, like for a long time, knowledge doubled about every 200 to 300 years. Then the Industrial Revolution happened. It was doubling every 100 years. And then we got into the 50s and it was doubling about every 20 years. Then we got into the 80s and 90s and it was doubling about every 10 years. Now it's doubling every 12 minutes.
Amazing, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. And if we could find a way to access that as human beings, like, could you imagine the things that we could accomplish? But then you also got like the mix of generations that cause a few challenges there too. And the fact that we're not teaching the right things to the next generation too, in regards to what I call financial preparedness. My son, I'll use my son as an example. I only had to make a few phone calls for him to get a job. I remember walking around my town and like going to everybody I knew and like, hey, where do I apply? How do I get a job? What do I do? I didn't have access to that information. Imagine if he could grow on top of that, and I'll use my daughter too, but imagine if he could access that same network and information and then use that to elevate his children too. That's why I like this industry, because it's allowed me to meet people and create relationships and help people achieve the dream of homeownership and help myself at the same time, right? And I get paid.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So what are some of your experiences before getting into this industry? What are some of the other things you've done out there?
That's an excellent question, and people ask me all the time. I actually owned a snack food distribution route in Central Illinois for a little bit. Drove around a van of kind of weird.
Okay.
But I had cookies, crackers, and chips in it, and I'd drop them off at gas stations and grocery stores. Prior to that, I was in construction, worked for corporate America for a little bit, went to school for business administration. And like really, I've been working, my grandparents own a dairy farm, so we didn't have summer vacations. We had working on the farm in Southwest Wisconsin. So like I don't know if I've ever been in an environment where it's like it's just easy, but I don't think anybody has though. And I'm not trying to compare my story to someone else's because each person experiences things differently. But in life is like our childhoods were, my child was very challenging. You know, mom being on WIC, parents having to find ways to put food on the table, not knowing if we're going to have hot water through the winter. You know, things that were just how we're going to pay. You know, how are we going to have food? You know, I remember just those are the challenges. My mom worked at Wendy's. She was a assistant manager at a fast food restaurant, and I remember her coming home, and she may not, hopefully she doesn't hear this because she usually cries when I tell the story. I remember her coming home and like our dinners were leftover burgers that weren't eaten. Right. And, you know, that really challenged me when I got into high school. Like I thought my claim to fame was going to be athletics. Well, when you find that you're not very good.
Right. Don't have that ability or
yeah, you gotta find a different route. And that's, I think what was interesting is I was blessed to have certain people in my life too. So I'm a big fan of Malcolm Gladwell.
Absolutely.
And his book Outliers, 1000%, you know, changed my perspective on how the world works. It's not just about hard work. It's also about who you know. But you can create the timing for the who you know. You have the ability to affect that. Sometimes the timing doesn't work and sometimes it does. And so that's what we took advantage of, or I took advantage of in my early career, is like, who can I meet? Who can I be around? Who can network? You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And I'm consistently trying to add people to my network that could bring value to me to help me be better so I can bring more value to others.
How do you do that? How do you build a strong network like that?
Excellent.
You know, some folks that are maybe young, just getting into whatever industry they're in, how do they build that strong network?
Well, if you're local, immediately become part of Rise with Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Surround yourselves with other people that are going places that are either where you want to go or going the place you want to go. And you can't be afraid to talk to people and meet people. Like I reached out to you on social media. I was like, hey, like I've been following you for a while. I've run into you at a couple different market or networking events. How do we I want to know more about what you do. Right. And I would listen to you, I follow you, I follow your reels, I see them on Facebook. So that's how you get to know someone. But really it's just going and putting yourself out there and shaking Ricky Bobby, shaking babies, kissing hands. Right. So, but you're just out there meeting people. Not be afraid to meet people. You can be an introvert, but if you have to become uncomfortable.
Yeah, you got to be
expanding your network. Go to things, do things you're not used to doing. You know, I've been in relationships where people were like, "Man, you really love going to the stuff," and I was like, "I really don't. Like, I'd rather be at home, like hunting or fishing,
right? Of course,
watching TV or reading a book." But I understand the purpose of it.
Yeah, have to do it.
You have to. It's not that you're using people, but you have to understand that you have to help other people to get, like Zig Ziglar, right? How many people can you help? Eventually, help enough people that you'll get what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I could quote all day long.
No, I love it. No, and you know, I'm a big 10X Grant Cardone fan.
Yeah.
Service is always senior to selling in that. So it's about serving others, and then eventually that comes back to you. So,
you know, and that's how we build our business. Like my business personally is about how do we make it an experience? Because people, this is probably an overused term, but people don't care how you treated them. They only care about how you made them feel. So you could have treated them awfully, but if you still made them feel good while you're going through that process, they're still going to remember you as a good experience. Yeah. And not that that's what you want anyways. That doesn't usually coincide, but you want to continue to treat people in a way, you know, the way you want to be treated. So I look at it like, if my grandma was getting a home loan, how are we going to communicate with her in a way that she understands in today's society and feels that she was taken care of at a very high level, high class, high touch?
Sure. So back to the networking, what organizations are you involved with here locally?
So I got asked that question the other day and was told to stop when I started.
Got down to a whole page of
people. Central Illinois Customer Service Association, Chamber of Commerce Ambassadors. I was 40 under 40, Leadership Springfield. I'm a Freemason. I don't like the term but like what else? I've been a part of the Little Flower Men's Group. I am in the American Business Club here in Springfield. I go to local first events, DSI events, anything that allows me to be more integral in the community. There is a purpose behind that. When my wife and I moved here and I knew this was going to be our home, like I was like, okay, we're getting involved and we're doing everything we can to make this a better place. And so that's just a few of the things. I coached basketball for 20 years. You know, I was a Little Flower basketball coach there, and I loved it. I miss coaching basketball a lot. But just however I can be involved is what I try to do. I have 2 events that I host each year. I do a backpack drive for District 186.
Oh, that's awesome.
Called Fill the Jeep. fill the Jeep with backpacks, and we donate all those backpacks. We've over 300 backpacks each year for the last 3 years in a row. I do a Veterans Day breakfast, a salute to service Veterans Day breakfast. Veterans Day breakfast with the VFW on Old Jack. My dad's a Vietnam veteran. That was the reason for that. We don't just talk about it. We actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I also sit on the vision board for the United Way.
Making an impact here, Fred.
It sounds like I'm bragging.
No, hey.
But I forget. Yeah. I forget but those are things that I do have a passion for. The United Way makes a huge difference in our community.
I'll tell you, I'll throw another Grant Cardone quote at you. It's not bragging if it's true, right?
Yeah.
No, that's all good stuff. I mean, in Lucky Horseshoes, we were talking about that before we went on the air here. You do the veteran salute with the Lucky Horseshoes last year too, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember seeing you out there.
This year, we did the United Way, or we did the Central Illinois Food Bank campaign last year, Strike Out for Hunger. This year, we're just going to focus on the veteran salute to service, have an honorary veteran at each game. And the purpose of that, man, I try not to tear up, but I had a lady who reached out to me on social media and said, hey, I just want to let you know, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and I've never seen him cry in my entire life. And when he was honored at the Lucky Horseshoes game with a standing ovation, he was in tears. And, my dad tells me all the time, like, he got off his plane, walked through Chicago Airport, and there was nobody there for him, like, other than my grandma at the time picking him up.
Sure.
And he spent, I think, 3 years in Vietnam, or did 3 tours in Vietnam. Was released from service, I think, in like 74, 75. So, and he talked about like how he was adamant about me not joining the service.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. And it's probably the biggest regret that I have to this day is not joining the service. And I don't claim I'm a veteran. I'll never claim I'm a veteran, but I will do what I can to help our veterans. My dad's a shining example. He ended up using the Illinois Veterans Grant to get his law degree, focus on continuing education. We don't have the best history. We didn't get along well. We haven't for a long time, but, he did try to do what he could with what he had. So
I'll tell you, I mean, at the Lucky Horseshoes game, I was probably at a dozen seats there too. And every time it's phenomenal experience for them to do that.
Yeah,
so.
It's unbelievable. And you couldn't ask for, again, it's about how we make people feel. And those guys, I mean, we had people as far back as the Korean War up until, enduring freedom. Like, it's just a great thing that we do. And I'm very appreciative, and I'm honored and privileged to be a part of it.
You mentioned Malcolm Gladwell. Obviously, must be a big reader, right?
I read a lot of books.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You have a yearly goal you try to hit?
I do. I read 2 books a month, 24 books a year. You may have seen the social media posts for like, hey, read 24 books last year, getting my list for this year.
Yeah, I think I threw you a few.
You did, actually. You did. And we created a list, and I put it on my Audible, and then I buy the hardback too.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to them and I read them. And I'll make notes, and I do the notation on the side. And it's very interesting how different books hit you at different times of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through a book right now. The book that I have is... It's a long one. It's called Trust and Inspire by Stephen Covey. Mm. When I listen to it, I'm just like, man, like, could he be any more monotone in a book? But then you read it, and then you have that other aspect of it, and then it really starts to make an impact.
It really can be different that way. Yeah, depending on who's reading the book too. Yeah, it can really hit different when you have it physically.
I struggle with Malcolm when he reads.
Mm-hmm.
Struggle with Simon Sinek when he reads.
Yep.
But when you read the book without them. But then when you put both together, it really makes sense to me. Yeah. So Atomic Habits, man, that was a great book. So books, if you want to do more in life, you are only going to go as far as your knowledge base or your experience. And the best way to experience things you've never experienced is to read about them.
Yeah, I completely agree. My goal every year is 52 books or training programs. So once a week, I'm either reading a book or finishing a training program in whatever I'm trying to learn about. So that's typically my goal. Most of them end up being books, but then I sprinkle in a dozen or so training programs.
Yeah.
So, like right now I've got reading Life Force. I don't know if you've heard. It's a Tony Robbins book that's a couple of years old. I like biohacking. I'm really into health and fitness and everything. So it's more down that road, health and longevity type stuff.
Yeah.
And then just finished up Innovators, which is about a 10-year-old book, but I hadn't read it yet. So that was a good one.
I haven't read that one in probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I missed it when it came out, and I never read it, and I picked it up, and I had a really good book. So kind of the history of computers and the internet and how people collaborated to get there and all that.
And people don't realize that books, like the internet used to be like on punch cards. Programming was on punch cards. Like you clock in and clock out. And I talked to my son about a time clock, and he's like, "What's that?"
Right.
Like, how do you clock in and clock out? Like, I have an app on my phone that uses clocking. And I was like, no, I actually had like a punch card that I put in a machine and punch a hole in it and tell me what time it was, or print, what time I was supposed to open it. So it's amazing how much the world has changed and what we started and where we're at now and where we're going. Like, we're going to the moon, apparently. No. We're going to put 217. We're going to be the first mortgage company on the moon.
Hey, there you go.
First mortgage company on Mars.
Love it. There you go. Following Elon's footsteps there. Yeah. That was another good book, by the way, the Elon book. I read that one.
That one yet.
Last year. Yeah, I'll give you my copy. You can read it. It was good. It was really good. So I try to I kind of alternate between a personal development type book and then a biography of somebody that's done great things. So I try to combine both of those in there.
I do empathy, mindset, and then inspiration. And in sales, the new sales and what we do. So I'm in sales. I'm not a finance guy. I don't follow the market and go like, hey, I can take this much money, make this money with it. We're a very like transactional business in regards to buying a home. So I grow my business by meeting people. And sales for a long time was a bad term. I think it's a great term. It teaches people how to work with other people. And in sales right now, the key is empathy. There's a Audible book that I listen to, and the lady's like, hey, this hospital got hacked. Trojan, but like they had a virus and it shut down and they were held hostage by a hacker. And the sales guy calls like, hey, like has a product that'll solve the problem for him, right? But he calls him like, hey, I'm really excited to work with you guys. I have something that's going to solve your problem for you. Mm-hmm. And the board was like, we're not excited at all. This sucks. And then the lady uses an example that a woman called, which women are naturally better at sales than men are. I'll argue that till the day I get put in the ground. But she's like, hey, like, man, I'm really sorry that happened to you. What's nice though is that I'm here and I can help walk you through this process so this doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. And just hearing that lady say it like that, I was just like, I want to buy it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want
to work with. Right? Sales is definitely had a real bad idea. Like we think of sales and think of that used car salesman, the old, who was it when he was selling cars? And you just think like, they're out here and they're shysters and they're trying to get you. But really everything we do, we're selling ourselves every day. Mm-hmm. Grant Cardone talked about that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we want to put our best foot forward all the time. So
what are some of the sales trainings that you do? How do you train that? How do you train in sales?
That's an excellent question. I think really you have to start, Simon Sinek, what's your why? Mm-hmm. And then once you figure out what your why is, you are 100% responsible for the knowledge that you put into your brain, right? So then you have to go out and search that knowledge out or find someone that can give you that knowledge that you need. But the sales things that we have to do annual training for called Continuing Ed through the mortgage company. But my sales training is we've created our own process. Like if I have a new person start, the first book we give them is Patrick Lencioni book, how ideal team player, mm-hmm. and like don't be a butthole. He calls it something else, but and then we walk them through the books that kind of talk through. And then the Magic of Thinking Big, Atomic Habits. What's the other book that I recently gave out? Team Player, The Outlier. I just really start handing out books. Mm-hmm. When I talk to someone and I kind of get a feel for them, and if you ever come to my office, you'll see I have like a stack of books, and I kind of like, hey, like. They're telling me about a problem they have. I don't want to solve that problem for them. I want them to solve that problem themselves. So I give them a book so they can help walk.
Pull it off. Yep. Pull it off the shelf.
And then sometimes that book comes back to me, and man, sometimes it doesn't. The book that I'm focusing on right now is more of a relational book, and it's called The Four Agreements. It's Toltec Wisdom. It was written by a guy. I also we talk about personal development. I believe in therapy. I've been in therapy now for a while, and I 100% believe that there is benefit to counseling or therapy or things to walk through. And this book was given to me by my therapist at the time, and it's like, who wouldn't want to do this? Be impeccable with your word. Do what you say what you mean. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always try to do your best. It sounds simple, right?
Right.
Applying those tools in a situation that requires it's the hard part.
And that's probably, that's with most things, right? Most concepts are really relatively simple that we get to. It's the discipline and the follow through and the applying, the application side is the difficult part, right? So.
I was part of like a speaking circuit for a while, and we talked about what's the most powerful thing out there, right? And everyone always says, well, knowledge is power. It's the application of knowledge that's power.
Say the same exact thing. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's the application of knowledge that is power. So when we receive this stuff, and like there's a book out there that I'm not here to preach or anything, but there's a book out there that's been around for a very long time that gives us all the same stuff, right? But just in a different way, and all the principles that we need to take us to the next level. And I call it the top 10, right? The top 10 commandments, right? We talk about like, if you just follow those, could you imagine how much simpler life would be? Right. The stuff is there. We just have to choose to apply it. And it's in those situations. And I remember being in a contentious argument with a customer. And I just said, could tell I was getting amped up. And I was like, why am I taking this personally? Like, what is happening in that person's life that they feel this way right now? And then I said, let's not make any assumptions. Like, they're not attacking me, right? They're attacking the situation. And then I'm the person that looks like I look like I'm the situation. And then, so I was just very honest with them. And I was like, hey, like, how can I help you? And that's the key. How do I go from like, man, this really stinks, so what can I do and what tools do I have so I don't have to do this again?
Absolutely.
Because if you can learn how to work with people, there's not anything on the planet you can't do. I
Completely agree.
That.
Completely agree. The knowledge is power. In my education work, I talk with tons of students every year. And that's one of the stories I tell them. I think we're pretty close to the same age. And, I tell them when we were in elementary school, every classroom had this picture on the wall, and every library had the knowledge is power poster on there. And I said, maybe back then it was kind of the case because data wasn't as readily available, maybe, but now it's definitely not the case now. It is the application of knowledge because data information is so readily available and so easy to get and so cheap that it's how you apply that knowledge, how you apply that information is what really matters and is what is really going to make you successful. It's not just having the knowledge.
No, you're right. It's the application knowledge. I have a coach too that helps you apply that knowledge. Like you're part of a coaching program now.
Absolutely.
Launching a coaching business, which is unbelievable. We need more of that. I have a coach. I have a mortgage coach. We're the 217 Mortgage is the number one mortgage lender south of I-80.
That's awesome.
Right.
Congrats on that.
We have some markets that we're in that allowed us to be very successful. We're more dominant in Champaign than we are in Springfield. The goal is to be like that here in Springfield too. But we also have people we reach out to teach us how to be better at what we do. And it's important to have someone in your life that you've given permission to hold you accountable. Because there are people that will hold you accountable by default, like the federal government.
Sure.
The IRS.
Right.
But you have to allow someone, and that's probably the most humbling thing I've done in my life, is there are 3 or 4 men in my life that can come into my life and go like, hey, you're kind of screwing up here. Let's stop doing that. And I have to be humble enough to go like, instead of being defensive, go, okay, tell me what you see and where we think we can make adjustments.
So those 3 or 4 guys, do you have like a mastermind group, or are those separate people that you're with?
Well, they all know each other, but I don't know if we've ever done a group, but they're individual relationships. One, obviously with my own company now that I work with, one was a childhood best friend. Another was a mentor that I kind of picked up when I was doing some early business stuff back in early 2008, 2009, 2010. And then I do have a couple mentors here locally that I've developed through friendships that are just like, hey, like, man, that's not a good idea. I think every person needs that there's wisdom in there's wisdom in many counsel. And I think everybody needs that. Because if you're going to do it yourself, man, like that's a hard way to learn.
I agree.
So you just keep beating your head against the wall. And I'm that personality too. That's like, that's my, like people ask me what my superpower is. Like, I'm just going to outwork you. Like you're going to get tired before I quit. So, but sometimes that's a lot of work.
It is. No doubt about it. Yeah.
So I've learned to humble myself and take advice from other people. And it was hard, especially with the environment that we grew up in, because it was very defensive all the time, where you just kind of like, nope, you got to protect yourself, make sure and not open up and allow other people to see you be vulnerable, because that was a weakness in that environment. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the secret sauce there is outwork everybody, the training and development that you're doing as well. I mean, that's where it's at. You combine those two and you're going to be unstoppable.
That's the goal. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So you mentioned a second ago, it starts with your why. So what's your why at 217 Mortgage?
Excellent question. Our why at 217 Mortgage is to help more people become homeowners. That's it. It's very simple. Help more people become homeowners. We do not believe there should be a reason as why people can't own homes. And we also, like, if from a business personal perspective, we want to be the number one in the state, right? But my goal is to help more people. I didn't own a home. I didn't know what it was like to own a home. I remember getting laughed out of a bank when my daughter was, 2 months old, and I went in. The guy was like, "You think you can buy a home?"
Sure.
And so, and I didn't even understand that the world would come full circle to why I would ever be doing what I'm doing now. And I remember that. And at the time, my wife's sitting there with a baby and a pumpkin seat, and that guy just being like, and I was okay. So we left defeated, and then I went on this journey, started this journey. And we don't believe in it. We don't believe using the term journey to homeownership anymore, because journey sounds like it takes too long. I believe in the path to homeownership.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the path to homeownership?
Yeah.
Right. It used to be home buying journey. I'm going to take you on a journey. Everybody likes journeys, right? But it's really like, we need to make it simpler than that. It's the path to homeownership. And our goal is to get everyone a home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, invest, not that there's anything wrong with investors and making money with real estate. Grant Cardone's a perfect example of that. Okay. But really, like, your test scores for children are higher. Family dynamics are better. Neighborhoods are cleaner. Homeownership really can be the foundation to a very healthy society.
No doubt about it.
To help more people become homeowners.
So how do you do that? What's the process if somebody wants to work with you guys? What all do you guys offer?
It's pretty simple. I just suggest people give me a call. We're going to have a consultation. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a conversation. I don't want to even call it a consultation. Hey, we're going to have a conversation, find out what your goals are.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to find out what your goals are. Then we need to create what we call a clear mortgage plan. With that clear mortgage plan, then we're going to put some things in place and figure out what you do qualify for. You do have to get your credit checked. And I don't even like the term credit check. I like the term credit optimization.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to review your credit. We are going to create some scenarios like what are you trying to accomplish? Where do you want to live? What's the home loan program that best fits you? The big thing right now is grants. People love home loan grants or the free money. They think it's free. It is available. It is designed for people to buy homes. We want you to take advantage of it. You can call them entitlements, call them whatever you want, but they're out there. We need to use it.
Sure.
So, but once we have that conversation, we collect your documents, we develop your clear mortgage plan, then you're going to tie into a real estate agent. And once we pre-approved you, you go find a home, and then within 30 days, you'll become a homeowner.
How's the market right now in general? I mean, with our local area, what's going on?
It's tough. There's not enough listings.
That's what I figured.
Hard. We're very insulated in Central Illinois and in Springfield specifically because of the state government, because of our medical community, because of the environments that are here business-wise, right? We're very insulated. We aren't seeing we're not seeing the market loosen up like it is in other areas of the country because we have such a strong local economy. Not that it's bad, but it is scary that it's all dependent upon our upon our state government. So imagine if change administration, things kind of shake up, that could really affect things, right? So, But in the meantime, we need more people to list their home,
right,
or build more homes, or make building homes cheaper. But the local, it's good. They still did over I think it was over $1.1 billion in home sales in last year. It might be more than that, 1.4 billion, I think. They're averaging 200 to 250 homes a month. Right, you wouldn't even think of that.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it was.
At the height of the pandemic, right, they're doing 1,500 to 2,000 homes a month. Right, so you just don't even think of that kind of stuff. So, but we'll get there. I'm originally from Southern Illinois, so I do a ton of business down there too.
Okay.
So,
whereabouts in Southern Illinois?
Murfreesboro.
Okay. Yeah.
Famous for barbecue.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bloody Monster. I really love Southern Illinois. Just the economy is just not there that I needed in order to grow, to get where I wanted to be professionally.
Now, we get down there every now and again. My wife's grandparents grew up in Cobden.
Yeah.
I know that area down there. That's
51 champions.
Exactly. Yeah, still have the sign up down there. Yeah, so we'll go down there and, visit Shawnee area and do the whole winery trail and all that down there. We've had family down there for a long time, so I know the area well.
I love Southern Illinois. I absolutely love it. I wish I could figure it out to where I might retire there.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought I'd live in Wisconsin. Mom's side of the family, part of my dad's family, we're all from up southwestern and central Wisconsin. Southern Illinois reminds me a lot of that area because of the forest. Just gets a lot. I don't like this cold right
now. No, this is not me. I'd be perfectly fine if it stayed above 90 degrees all the time. I'm a hot weather person.
85, 90 is my point. Perfect. I could survive like that all day long.
I completely agree. You mentioned COVID time a second. The highs getting up in the 1500s or whatever. I mean, was that kind of a crazy time for for mortgage refinances and all that stuff for you?
So I'm a purchase. I can do mortgage refinances, and that's probably become about 10% of my business now. But during the pandemic, I was just a purchase lender.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember waking up in the middle of the pandemic, and on Monday morning, I'd have 9 contracts on my desk, and I'd be like, "Where did these come from?"
Sure.
Like, I don't even remember talking to this person, and now they're buying a home.
Mm.
Now, the one thing about our industry now is actually forced. So our industry is changing. We have lost almost 60% of mortgage originators in our country.
Oh, wow.
We're under less than 75,000 at the height of the pandemic. I think we're over 300. So, but I'm talking about 60% from last year, not total, 6% from last year. So like we're losing, it's faster than we keep up with just because the industry is not able to sustain.
That's what I was going to ask you. What do you attribute that to? Just not able to?
Well, we're commission, like our industry is not like we're not like a financial advisor. I don't get paid every single month every time you make your mortgage payment. I'm commission, point of sales. That's what we do. So when you close on a home loan, that's when I get paid. I don't have a salary. There are some loan officers out there that collect salaries, so I don't say that we're all like that. But my business does not make a dime until your home loan closes and it gets purchased on the secondary market or an investor purchases it. So I attribute to that so that the market slowed down and people don't want the instability of commission. I'll never work in a non-commission job again. I just won't do it. And part of that reason is because I know who I am as a person. And if I knew I had that type of stability and not enough of that chaos, then I'd be like, all right, this is cool. I don't mind. I don't have to work that hard.
Because that kick of motivation when you have the commission side, right?
When you don't know, when you start over on and yes, it would be nice to have some residual income that Coron talks about too. But, I also like the fact that, man, I got to wake up on Monday and perform every week. And Monday, we have a saying, but Monday's my favorite day of the week. Everybody hates Monday, right? And I kind of had a thing this week where it's like Moose Day because Monday we didn't have Monday.
Right.
Yesterday was Ted Ness Day. Today is this would be Wurs Day.
Right.
Yeah. So we approach the first of the month like it's the best day of the month, and we approach the first day of the week like it's the best day of the week. Everybody lives for the weekend. I'm living for Monday.
I love it.
And that's how we separate ourselves in business too, is we're available when everyone else is available, because most people work, 8 to 5, 7 to 3:30, whatever. But they're not home shopping from 7 to 3:30. They're home shopping from 3:30 to 10, or on Saturdays and Sundays. And that's part of what we did in our market too, to separate ourselves, is we're available when nobody else is.
How do you get you and your team driven and motivated like that week in and week out?
It starts with me.
Mm-hmm.
If I walk into the office and I have a bad attitude, the rest of the office has a bad attitude for the rest of the day. And it's not that like, oh, hey, it's scary, watch out. It's just like, man, like it's just an energy bug. But if I walk in the office and I'm like, woo, do the Ric Flair, everybody knows it's a good, like we're having a good day. It's up to me to set the tone and standard. And then even the guys that I listen to, like we have some great leaders within our own organization with 2 and 7 and with New American Funding. Justin, every time I talk to him, was like, how are we going to get better today?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's consistent. Like, what are we doing to get better? And we're good. So how do we get better? And then like a guy like Tom Sinek, who was like a All-American baseball player at the University of Illinois, holds the Big Ten batting average title. Every time you talk to him, is like, what are we doing to get better today?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not a negative. It's not a negative conversation that takes place when we're communicating with those guys, and you can tell because you get done talking to them, and you might get corrected, but you also feel like you can go do it, and as opposed to like just getting yelled at all the time, right? And I've been in those environments too. It's not fun.
I'll tell you, one of these days, I think we need to walk into an event and do the Ric Flair.
Yeah,
just do the dual Ric Flair going into a chamber event or something. That'd be amazing.
The general manager, I think he's still the general manager at the boat dock, but I played slow pitch softball around here, and his name's Kevin Rose, and man, he stepped on the diamond and said, "Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair," and I've been doing it ever since.
I love it. So you're obviously very successful in your business. So what do you attribute that success to? What are some of the other processes you put in place, other practices that you've done, to scale your business, anything like that?
Excellent. Organization's key. Having a system. You got to have a process. You don't gotta remember the quote, but it's, you fail to the level of your processes, right? Not to the level of your ability.
Yeah.
So if your processes aren't that good, that's as high as you're going to go. So I just had a conversation today about how we can adjust our process to become better, because the market changes. You got to change. So your systems and processes you put in place, and I'm not talking about like when I used to think of processes, I used to think of like a factory and a machine doing something a certain way. When you're dealing with people, you don't have, like, people aren't machines. People are people, and we don't want to treat people like they're machines either. So we want to treat people like they're people, but we also want to go like, hey, like, this application comes in, we're going to high tech, high touch. So we're going to call phone, email, text, phone, email, text. Every client, phone, email, text. Some clients communicate by email. Some clients communicate by phone. Some clients communicate by text. But I'd rather have a client tell me at the end of the process that, man, those guys called me a lot, or those guys texted me a lot, or those guys emailed me a lot. But I never felt like they were unavailable or not working with us. So the process we put in place is make sure you know what you're trying to accomplish. Obviously, get the home loan done. And then what systems are you putting in place to make that as easy as possible so that experience is maximized for that customer or client or family member, however you want to phrase it. So the systems in place that we put is just like, what are you doing from point A to point B, and then point B to point C, then point C to point D, right? And this really, I call it I learned this at State Farm, actually. But we know what our goal is. Our home loan's our goal. How do we reverse engineer that?
Yeah, back into it. Yeah,
back into it. And if it weren't for State Farm, when I was going through the agent, becoming a State Farm agent, I would have never learned that process, and I'm forever grateful for that. So we try to reverse engineer everything that we do, and then create systems outside of that. And then you have sales process too. Like, what you see the social media, that's on purpose. We post every day on social media, not because it's fun and because like I'm looking for all this attention. I do it because I'm trying to create influence. The book that I was listening to, a relationship book, and you fail to your level of your influence too. The more influence you have, the more people are going to listen to you.
Yep.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. And if we're just out here just like thinking that we're only here to do mortgages to make money, because there are people in our industry that are like that,
sure,
man, that's not a good look. So we really want to let people know that we're there for them.
And I mean, when you have those processes and those frameworks and those strategies in place, I mean, talking about backing into the, the end goal, that's a big thing with our 10X strategies as well. But, being able to put those in place allows you to scale as well, because it's a repeatable process. So you can train the next person to do that and the next person to do that. And you can essentially duplicate yourself a bit to be able to do some more of that.
To add on to that, I think you need to identify, I think each person needs to identify who their customer is. My customer might be different than someone else. And I want to know, like, who is the type of customer that I work with? Well, we really love dual income households that have good credit scores, that have 20% down, right? But ideally, the market is showing that people put between 3 to 5% down. So who are the type of people that are going to put 3 to 5% down? Typically single income households, single parent households, or you're going to have like low to medium income households. Now, Central Illinois is a little bit different. We are insulated by the state government, but I bet 30 to 40% of our business is what would be considered below the average or below the area median income. So if we know that's our customer, how do we make sure that customer is treated like we're catering to that customer's needs and speaking the language that they speak?
That was going to be my next point. Yeah.
So
speaking the language of your hyper focused target market there. Yeah.
Because each customer speaks differently. I'm not going to talk to a guy who has $1 million in the bank like a guy who works at, has a job where he's making $40,000 a year. They don't speak the same. So we just have to be aware of that and identifying that customer. And we do have verbiage where we do tier 1, tier 2, 3 on regards to like what the file structure looks like. We don't label the customer itself as to who they are, but we will label the file like, hey, this is a tier 1 file, it's a tier 2 file, it's a tier 3 file, and might require more documentation or less documentation or things that are needed to get into that process. But that we really try to focus on how do we make sure that, again, it's the experience for that customer.
Creating kind of customer avatars, right?
Yeah.
You refer to them as that, but that's what I refer to them as, customer avatars, and this is exactly the type of person that is, and this is their demographic, and this is what they're, so.
Say, we could even get a little more like Riz with that.
Right. Yeah.
Like each customer has our own Bitmoji.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. So I know you've been a bit on a health journey here recently too. I've seen some of your posts on that. Tell us about that.
In 2022, I went to an appointment. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and we couldn't figure out what was going on with my health, right? So I went to an orthopedic. Orthopedic told me I had carpal tunnel. I cut my wrist open. If it weren't for a guy named Jordan Kelly, who introduced me to a guy named Matt Saxma at Redefine Healthcare, which is a concierge medical service. I pay him a subscription. He gives me access to him 24/7, right? Now, he may not respond 24/7, but I can text him.
I was actually just looking at his place the other day. I was thinking about doing that. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Matt. He is someone who has changed my life for the better. So I go before him in 2022. He couldn't figure out what was wrong, was overweight. And he's like, you're going to die if you don't change. And I was like, and he's like, and I'm not meaning like in 20 years. I mean like probably soon.
Oh, wow.
And all the levels were out of whack, right? And he kind of said like, hey, like you got to make a change. And we did intermittent fasting, working out. Intermittent fasting was the biggest thing that probably helped with my health journey. But I didn't try to accomplish the goal like overnight that we talked about. I did that goal over 2.5 years. I don't know if I was ever at 300 pounds. I didn't weigh myself prior to that. And then I weighed myself 2 weeks after, but I was at 298 when I started. And January 9th, I was 214.
Awesome.
I kind of picked it up a little bit in the last half of 2024 regards to like rucking, getting in the gym every day. Started dating someone, so it's kind of changed
the
diet a little bit.
That does.
Still work out every day, right? And still get after it. And, health, you don't have, what did my mom say? Early to rise makes you young, wealthy, and wise, right?
I like that, yeah.
And if you don't have your health, you can't have anything else. Like you really, if you're laying in a bed because you're sick all the time, what are you going to accomplish? If you can't make an impact, I want to see my grandkids. I want to see my kids graduate high school and graduate college. I want to see that the things that I'm doing are making a difference. Call it selfish, but that's what I want. You can't do that if you're not healthy.
Oh, yeah, not selfish at all. I mean, it's being able to invest in yourself so you can invest in others. So it's not selfish at all. I'm on I've been on a similar journey recently, and I've been
look amazing.
Yeah, well,
you
thank
look
you.
In a magazine.
I appreciate that, but I know I was similar time frame. I know I was 38 at the time, coming out of COVID, and I felt like I was in the worst shape of my life, and I needed to make a change. So I said, by the time I'm 40, I want to be back at the shape I was when I was 20, and then I hit that, and then now I want to be in the best shape of my life, so I can increase my health span. So like you mentioned, be there for all my kids' stuff, and be there for their kids' stuff, and have a long and healthy life. So I'm super motivated and dedicated and committed to my nutrition. Yeah, so
you're already in pretty good shape now.
It's like,
I can imagine.
I'm getting close. I'm getting really close. But yeah, it means that I'm very strict on intake and everything. We could be kind of some accountability partners on that if you're up for that.
I struggle because I like to drink some adult beverages.
Yeah, we'll see, and that's one thing. It's kind of funny how this happened. I used to do that as well, and all of a sudden, around this same time, I had a beer, and it gave me kind of an immediate headache. That's kind of weird. Night or two later, I had a bourbon. Kind of gave me an immediate, that's kind of weird. And it started giving me immediate headaches every time. So I was like, well, something's off on this, so I'm not going to drink it anymore anyway, because I shouldn't be getting an immediate headache right after I drink any kind of alcoholic beverage. So I haven't had any alcohol in a couple of years now, but it just kind of happened that happened at the same time I was starting my health journey.
I dated a girl for a long time, and she was adamant about listening to what your body needs. And she would focus on like, hey, I think and she did. She was excellent at it. She's like, I think I need to eat a salad today, or I need to eat a cucumber, or I need to have this, or I need to have that for food. And man, she really figured it out. And I think your body does tell you what you need and don't need. We just have to pay attention.
Yeah, completely agree. No, and I'm very in tune with that now. I mean, my palate has completely changed and everything. You know how that goes when you start adjusting that nutrition intake and everything. Palate completely changes, and you don't want to go back to the old sugary stuff.
I get made fun of by my kids, but I make vegetable salads. So I'll take zucchini, cucumber, olives, carrots, microgreens. What else would I put in it? Onions, peppers, green peppers, colored peppers, and I'll just create like these jars, mason jars, and I'll cut up and put it in, and then I take it all and put it into one salad, and it's all raw broccoli, cauliflower, and it is. I'll eat that for lunch, and I will have energy for like the next 12 hours. That's unbelievable. And then you feel good the whole time, like your mind is sharper, you're able to accomplish more. So I'm a big fan of what you put in your body makes a difference.
It's amazing what whole foods, getting the processed stuff out of the diet, eating whole food, proper supplementation, organic. Yeah, I'm a little militant with my organic stuff now. Yeah, I'm super militant. Even with meats and stuff, I've gotten super.
Okay. So where do you shop at?
So Harvest Market and Food Fantasies. So for meats, actually, though, you mentioned Wisconsin. North Star Bison is out of Wisconsin, and they have some phenomenally raised bison there, and that's where I get all my bison. And I get my chicken from Primal Pastures out in California, where they raise it the right way and everything. So I order the meat in, and then I typically go to Harvest Market or Food Fantasies for the other
Did
stuff.
a lot of research, and when I'm in a pinch and I'm not able to do the things like you're talking about, like Meijer is the best place that I found.
Yep.
Harvest Market.
Yep.
So the chicken there is always like that company that does that is like, if you do the research on them, they do it the way they're supposed to. When you buy the organic, and I also learned the difference between pasture raised and grass fed.
Yep.
And learned all this stuff in the last 24 months, and man, it really makes a huge difference. The eggs I eat now, on top of, my daughter comes over, eats. She's like, Dad, the food you have here just always has so much flavor. And I was like, right, because we buy good food.
Yeah, it's good food.
It's the difference.
Yeah.
And I throw some spices in too, but it's the food itself just tastes better.
Yeah, no, I've gone down a long road with all that stuff, and like I said, I'm super strict on everything. And
I buy organic olives. I didn't know you can make them, right? So, and the only place I could find them in town was Meijer. And then I buy my lentils, my quinoa, all that stuff from Harvest Market because they have it
in the bulk. Yep, I do the lentils by the bulk over there. Yeah.
So, and then chickpeas, I buy garbanzo beans. I buy those organic too, which you can buy those at Walmart. I'm really strict on my food diet.
Yeah,
a lot more strict than I used to be, for sure.
My main tenets there, like I said, all organic, whole foods, no processed. Stay away from all seed oils now. I don't know if you've gone down that road yet.
I do olive oil and avocado.
Yeah, I'll do olive oil and avocado.
But I stay away from grapeseed. Stay away from canola. Stay away from what's the other big one? Not peanut. The one that you see in the sunflower. Sunflower. So, but everybody thought it was like sunflower is great.
Right.
Then you find out that it's not good. You don't digest it.
Yeah, and especially when you start heating it too. I mean, that stuff gets rancid essentially. Yeah, I think we could do a whole episode on the health stuff. We're gonna do that. Yeah. I listen to Gary Brecka a lot too, and Dr. Hyman and all those folks that do a really good job on the functional health and on the health side in general.
I did forget to mention one thing. The one thing I do recommend is find some podcasts. I know it's hard in today's society to really set time aside to read, but I follow some podcasts out there. Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, that really kind of like talk about personal development and growth a lot. And I like listening to them because they provide the aspect from like having a healthy relationship and being mentally healthy too. I really focused, and I haven't really talked about this much, but the last 2 years I really focused on my mental health. And not that I think that I was crazy, right? And I talked about therapy, but I really focused on making sure that who I was inside was good enough to be what was good enough outside too. And I really challenged my self-worth and knowing that you really just want to know who you are. And I think that mental health really helps you get there with that. Like mental health, like being healthy physically along with your mental health, man, there's really not much there's nothing you shouldn't be able to accomplish.
Completely agree. Well, Fred, let's give a couple of takeaways. We've had some great ones already, but hey, one of your favorites from your personal side, one from your professional side to help folks elevate their life or their business.
Okay. Start off with being funny. My first favorite quote is, if you're not first, you're last.
Yep, absolutely.
You're not last. And then you find out in the movie that it was all baloney, right? But one of my favorite personal quotes is, to get where you're going, you have to do what you haven't done. I'm a big believer in that. But like, I know some people, to get what you need, there's some other ways to it, but like, you have to do what you haven't done. You just have to get where you want to go. You have to do what you haven't done. And I'm coming for everything they said I couldn't have. And I remember just being in that environment, and this is why I relate so much well to the economically challenged community, is like coming from that community that like we were told that you'll never be more. And man, I'm telling you, it's the whole world's out there. I just want people, I have friends now, but look where you're at now. I remember being in a 1-bedroom house with 5 of us trying to figure this out. So I'm telling you, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to believe it. So those are my 2 favorite quotes.
I love it. Talk about you have to get do something different type of thing. My tip of the day that I just did before you came in here was challenge yourself and get outside of your comfort zone, because that's where the stretch and the grow happens. So, well, Fred, if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
SaveWithFred.com.
All right.
Keep it simple.
Love it. SaveWithFred.com.
Yep.
How long have you had that one? Just curious.
I think I bought that in 2022, and I sold this from a guy. I think his was SaveWithConrad.com. He was a big guy out of Huntsville, Alabama. Man, SaveWithFred.com. And it was easy. It was cheap too. That was the best part. I only paid like $10.
Right.
So, and I've had it, and it's not cheap anymore. It costs probably a pretty penny for someone to buy it from me.
Sure.
So
I love it. Well, Fred, I have a feeling we're going to do this again, and whether it's just the health podcast or whatever we're going to do, I think we could talk for a really long time. But in the meantime, Fred's going to keep elevating Springfield, and we will see y'all back after the break. But Fred, have a great week, all right?
Thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody, if you like what you've heard so far, hey, join us over on Facebook. We have a group and a page over there. You can also join our free community where we will bring you additional insights and strategies to help you elevate your life, your business, and ultimately our community. You can find that link in the show notes. We would love to have you join us. Let's get back to it. All right, thanks again to Fred Weber for joining us. A lot of great insights. How great was he, right? Hey, so a few things we discussed with Fred. Building a strong network, vitally important from a 10x standpoint. You really want to be getting so much attention that you become criticized for it. I posted a tip of the day about this recently where you need to get as much attention as possible. As Grant always says, hey, if people don't know you, they can't flow you. They can't do business with you, right? So make sure you're attending all of those networking events. Everybody's there for the same reason. Don't, stay uncomfortable with it. Everybody's uncomfortable. Meet new people. Find new opportunities. Continue to network. You know, a lot of people say your network is your net worth, and I firmly believe that a lot of the opportunities and successes you're going to have are because you have the right people around you. Hey, we also talked about sales and specifically service in selling and how, over the years, selling has become kind of a, bad topic or, conjures up negative emotions for people. But if you are selling in the right way, if you come from the place of service over selling, you are going to be a professional in that field and help people and impact people, not just sell them a product. Along those same lines, you need to be so convinced that your product or service is a benefit and makes a true impact on your customers. You have to be completely sold on that. That is another tenet of 10X. With Fred, we also talked about a little bit about leadership and motivation, right? When we're talking 10X, the whole purpose of 10X is to take massive action, to take what you think you can do, your current goals, and 10X those, multiply them by 10. And in doing so, also multiply the actions you think you need to take to achieve those goals by 10. So 10X those goals, 10X that mindset, 10X those actions. That goes the same thing with your leadership and motivation. Fred did the old give me 2 claps from Ric Flair. Awesome, right? It really does start from the top. When you, as the leader, bring that energy bug, like Fred said, or bring that energy and motivation every day, your team is going to follow suit. Another thing we talked briefly about was understanding your customer. We're going to talk a lot about that on the podcast. One of my areas of expertise is marketing. So when we talk about sales and marketing, you really need to hone in on who your target market is. Who is your hyper-focused target market? What are their demographics? What do they speak like? What is their language? You need to speak in the language of your customer. So, hey, a lot of great things with Fred today. Check back later in the week for just a quick 10X tutorial on a subject I've got for you. Each week I'm going to bring you the main episode and then one 10X short. So again, Fred, thank you for your time today. Greatly appreciate you spending the afternoon with us. I'm sure we're going to have you back at some point soon. We're going to close up shop right after the break. Hey everybody, Robert here. 217 Mortgage, powered by New American Funding, offers expert advice and comprehensive mortgage lending services to both current and future homeowners. Hey, their dedicated team is honored to serve the Midwest, providing reliable and personalized mortgage solutions from loan origination through to funding. Hey, they pride themselves on their inclusive approach, serving clients from all walks of life. With 4 office locations across central Illinois, Champaign, Springfield, Knoxville, and Bloomington, they are well positioned to serve the needs of their clients. Discover the 217 Mortgage difference. Join us and see how they can make your homeownership dreams a reality. All right, well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Had a great time on our first episode of Elevate Springfield, where we are going to bring you actionable strategies to elevate your life, your business, and ultimately our community. We will bring the strategies, you bring the discipline and the follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield. We'll see you next time.